Have you ever pulled up to a red light, spotted a moving truck with Arizona or California plates, and thought, who chooses Michigan on purpose? I get it, between the snow, the potholes, the weather, that can't really make up its mind. Michigan doesn't always look like the obvious pick, but here's the twist most people miss. It's the number of people coming to Michigan has been rising, and while the state wrestled with population declines for years, the most recent data shows a rebound thanks to a wave of new arrivals and fewer people leaving than before. If you own a home here, want to buy one, or you're relocating within the state, this matters. It affects pricing, inventory, and where the best opportunities are going to be over the next 6 to 18 months. Michigan's story isn't just people leave cold states, it's the right people are choosing to plant roots here, and that shifts the entire real estate chessboard. Oh, and before we dive in, I'm a Michigan realtor who helps people move to, from, and within the state, and I love it. If that's you or future you, I'm happy to be a resource. Let's get into it. So let's unpack what's actually happening here. The big picture first is Michigan has long battled slow growth and in many years outright decline. That's still true in the rearview mirror, but in the last annual read, Michigan's population grew by roughly 57,000 people, about a 0.6% bump, driven primarily by a sharp rebound in international migration, while losses to other states shrank considerably compared to prior years. In other words, even though Michigan has lost more people than it's gained over much of the last decade, the most recent trend is actually the opposite. And that's more people arriving, especially from abroad, and fewer leaving, which stabilizes the scale. That's not opinion, that's the state's own demographic shop and census talking. Now, where are folks coming from? The easy answer is everywhere, but there actually are some patterns. You've got inflows from high cost or overheated markets like California, Oregon, parts of Texas, and steady Midwest churn from Illinois and Ohio. I see it constantly in my inbox. A few months ago, I helped a couple from California who were remote, and they were just done paying 7 figures for 1,400 square feet, and they were done with all of the natural disasters that they kept facing. We landed them north of Metro Detroit, more property, right on the water, and a mortgage that didn't make them sweat at 2 a.m. They texted me after their first real Michigan summer, like, Michigan summers are actually one of a kind. And the data backs up what stories like theirs hint at. Housing cost arbitrage and lifestyle trade-offs are fueling interstate moves, and Michigan is a quiet winner there. Texas shows up too, but in a way you'd expect. I'm working with a family outside of Dallas, and they weren't fleeing anything, they were melting. They wanted 4 seasons, the triple-digit heat finally pushed them out. Then there was my client from Oregon who moved for a job but underestimated how much they liked living near the Woodward Corridor. These aren't outliers, people are doing this every single day. It's also not just interstate arrivals, some of its most important moves are inside Michigan too. If you're watching this because you're weighing a move from Ann Arbor to Chelsea, Novi to Milford, Sterling Heights to Chesterfield, or even downstate to up north, you're not alone. Internal migration is reshaping demand, especially in Livingston, Northern Oakland, Ottawa, Kent, and Grand Traverse and Leelanau counties, because remote work finally lets lifestyle lead, and despite a lot of people being forced back to the office after the pandemic, there's still a lot of companies that offer that freedom still. And yes, that's showing up in the numbers. Rural and small metro counties captured a surprisingly large share of Michigan's recent population gains, with most rural counties net positive on migration, even while experiencing natural decrease. And here's the part that everybody asks. Why Michigan? Well, you start with the math. The typical Michigan home still trades well below coastal and hot sun metros. So think of the delta like this. A $450K starter in parts of Austin or Portland can often put you in a larger, newer home here, sometimes with water access, sometimes with land, and your monthly overhead decompresses instantly. That affordability multiplier is a huge reason I'm seeing remote workers, mid-career families, and equity-rich sellers from the coast pick the Mitten State. Layering on anchoring lifestyle factors, fresh water everywhere, 4 real seasons, and commutes that don't eat your day. And you understand the draw. The national data story goes, the census flagged migration as the primary engine of U.S. population growth last year, and Michigan ranked among the top states for international inflows, which is why the state posted an overall gain, even with the domestic outmigration still slightly negative. So, what does this mean for you exactly? If you're buying in West Michigan, like Grand Rapids, that Holland, Muskegon area, or the lakeshore towns like Grand Haven, Spring Lake, expect healthy demand and be ready to move decisively on the good ones. Because around Metro Detroit, the magnets remain Brighton, South Lyon, Novi, Northville, the Woodward Corridor communities, and the lake-heavy corridors in Commerce and White Lake. You expect competing with a mix of local move-ups and out-of-state cash. And then up north, you got Grand Traverse, you got Leelanau, Petoskey, Charlevoix, and even Gaylord-Grayling are tight because secondary home markets morphed into primary home markets for those remote folks I talked about. On the east side, keep an eye out on St. Clair Shores. You got Chesterfield and pockets along the Lake St. Clair shoreline, as you have that have your water and work near Detroit kind of vibe there. Now, let's address the other side honestly. Not everyone is coming, not everyone stays. Weather will always be the first punchline, the gray stretch of February test commitment. Some industries are thinner here, so career constraints matter if you're not remote, and the state's long-term projections are not a Sun Belt rocket ship. Official forecasts expect slow growth through the next decade and then a gradual decline toward 2050, even assuming net positive migration, because births remain low and we're all aging. That context really matters and it keeps us sober in a sense. But zoom in and you see why this video exists. Even against that backdrop, in-migration has accelerated, domestic losses have narrowed, and in the latest reading, Michigan posted a notable net gain. Those two truths can coexist. The past decade's stagnation and the current uptick fueled largely by immigration. A past client once asked me what my thoughts are on the future of Michigan, and I made a bold claim that climate refugees would be placed in Michigan based on all the changes happening around the world, and I talk about it in a video about Michigan being a climate haven, and I will link that in the description for everybody. But let me tie the data back to the ground. Sellers' inbound flows mean more eyeballs on the right listings. I'm seeing homes that would have lingered at 45 days in 2019 move in 1 to 3 weeks today if they're prepped and priced correctly, especially in those sub 500K family product with functional yard, near a great school district kind of vibes. Buyers, your edge is its preparation. If you're targeting Livingston, Northern Oakland, and that Ottawa, Kent areas, you assume you'll be shoulder to shoulder with relocators who either have strong down payments or cash from a coastal sale. That doesn't mean overpaying necessarily. It means getting pre-underwritten, understanding true comps, not Zillow hallucinations, and structuring offers that solve the seller's real problem. You have the timing, you have the occupancy, and the certainty. Investors, watch the job center corridors and highway spines. EV/advanced manufacturing announcements and supplier ecosystems create durable housing demand within 20 to 40 minutes. And we're already seeing that reflected in pipelines and permits from southeast through mid-Michigan. If you're watching because you're even considering a move into, out of, or around Michigan, that's literally what I help people do every week. And I'll drop a link to my Michigan relocation guide and my contact info below for you. Use it to plan, to price, and to shortlist areas. It's just the kind of stuff I wish everyone had before they started touring a new state that they don't know, especially Michigan. Let's also inject a quick show me snapshot so you can visualize the flow. When Michiganders head out, Florida still claims a big share, and that's absolutely no surprise. And Illinois has long been our push-pull neighbor. On the inbound, the mix is actually more interesting. You've got families from Illinois and Ohio crossing borders for jobs and affordability, and you've got coastal movers who want the lake life without a California-sized mortgage. The cumulative effect is that more people are arriving than in recent years, and the net loss to other states has narrowed substantially. And that's one of the key reasons Michigan posted an overall gain in the latest vintage estimates. So where does this go next? I mean, you zoom out to the national frame for a second. The U.S. just notched its fastest population growth in 23 years, and immigration accounted for the share of that increase. Michigan participated in that upswing, ranking among the higher states for international inflows. One reason our top line number finally ticked up a little bit, like I mentioned. Look for that to keep stabilizing the market here, especially as interest rates level and builders try to close a stubborn housing unit gap. It's not a recipe for a buying frenzy, but it is a recipe for steady, fundamentals driven demand in a place we've been talking about. I want to land this with the heart piece because that's what ultimately decides a move. Almost everyone I help who relocates here says the same thing about 6 months in. Life just feels easier. Not perfect, not every day is magic, just easier. Commutes shrink, weekends expand, the water is close, the neighbors wave, and even the die-hard winter skeptics will send me a July sunset from Lake Michigan and say, okay, I get it now. So tell me, does any of this surprise you watching out there? Did you think Michigan was still losing an influx of people with no end in sight, or does it actually make sense that the combination of affordability for now, water, and remote work flexibility is pulling new folks in? If you've moved here from California, Texas, Oregon, Illinois, wherever, drop your story below. What tipped you over the edge to make the move to Michigan? If you're looking to make the move to Michigan in one day or a million years from now, I help people do just that, and I love it. So please reach out anytime. I've also linked my Living in Michigan newsletter in the description so you can stay informed about what's happening across the state. I share things that I don't always talk about here, so be sure to subscribe. Until next time.